This program was made possible by the contributors on Patreon, and from viewers like you. Thank you.
At this moment, we as a nation are about to touch the stars. I tremble at the honor of announcing the culmination of mankind's long history of intellectual and scientific achievement. Yesterday, our power spanned the earth. Today, it can illuminate the heavens. May it stand forever! Our Ziggurat!
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Christopher Szabo Show. Today, we have a very special guest coming from an unknown location. Say hello to my anarchist comrade, Radical Reviewer.
Hello, this is the Radical Reviewer, taking a look at... well, I suppose you should probably do that part.
Well, today, we will be watching a grand film from my childhood, a film called Metropolis. Now, you may be thinking about a film from 1927 that was black and white and silent, but we're not watching that film today. Today, we're watching a film that was made by Osamu Tezuka, and it was heavily inspired by the same film. Osamu made other classics such as Astro Boy and Kimba, the White Lion.
Kimba the White Lion. Kimba? That sounds a lot like Simba. Did Disney...
Yes. Disney ripped him off.
Damn. Well, so what's so great about the film we're about to watch?
Well, it is exactly why I invited you here today, Radical Reviewer. You are so good at critically analyzing political themes, and with Metropolis being a heavily politically driven film, I thought it would be a good idea for us to dissect this movie together. What do you say?
Agreed, comrade.
So there's definitely a class divide here between the rich and the poor, but the character that you want to be aware of is Duke Red, because he's a dirty fucking capitalist. But don't worry, because he's a private citizen.
I'm just a private citizen. Politics has no need of me, I assure you.
Mr. President, don't you want Duke Red in politics?
You really shouldn't egg him on like that. We all know no one can compete with the Duke for popularity.
I don't trust him. Alright, so first things first, what is Metropolis? Metropolis is a huge, bustling, plutocratic city inhabited by humans and robots under a government called the Ziggurat. What is the Ziggurat? Well, at first the film doesn't explain.
I never heard of a ziggurat before. What does it mean?
Who knows?
But what we do know is that it's a type of massive structure built in ancient Mesopotamia. We might want to remember that for later.
The next scene, there's fireworks in celebration of the new Ziggurat when suddenly there's a silhouette of a strange figure in the building.
Huh?
Mardukes! It's their sign!
Huh? Doesn't even look good.
There he is, over there!
You're outside of your zone. You should know better than that.
Okay, so who the heck is that?
That guy is Rock, and he thinks Duke Red is his father.
I put you in charge of security to prevent that kind of thing.
Yes, Father.
You idiot! I'm not your father, understand? I found you during the last war. You were an orphan, so I took you in. You're dismissed.
So wait, what was this war Duke was referring to? Did he participate in a war?
Yeah, they never elaborate on it.
I thought you said this movie was good.
I didn't say this movie was flawless. So we meet our two main characters from Japan, a detective and his nephew. I can't understand their names, not because they're in Japanese, but because they say them so quietly. I mean, here, listen.
My name is Shunsaku Bai. My name is Shunsaku Bai. My name is Shunsaku Bai.
Everyone's dialogue is very stilted. Everyone just says their names and their plans like very plainly. People storm into the scene and immediately announce who they are and what their goals and intentions are. It's almost kind of robotic and peculiar, but I suppose like maybe it's a combination of that it's an older movie, also maybe it's because of the dubbing, also maybe because it's dealing with such complex issues in just an hour and a half film that they need it to be very concise. It's just kind of interesting. Takes a second to get used to.
I'm a private detective. I have a letter of introduction from the police commissioner of Tokyo.
And they're investigating a Dr. Loudon who is suspected of basically using human body parts as science experiments. So there's basically a robot detective with a really complicated name. So they name him Pero. Pero explains the inner workings of Metropolis, like how there's a fascist group called the Mardukes who hunt robots that break the law, such as walking outside their zone. Each robot has a mark on them, so they're not allowed to walk outside their zone.
We're strictly forbidden to operate outside of our areas. And that robot was not authorized to work at surface level. He's supposed to be underground.
Fascists? That's kind of harsh, don't you think?
No, the movie literally calls them fascists.
Yeah, but who are those guys? They look like fascists.
The Marduk. They were a political party, but evolved into a kind of vigilante group to calm anti-robot sentiment. Today, their main occupation is terminating robots which are malfunctioning or breaking the law.
Oh, interesting. I like the metaphor of social classes divided by a physical border. This metaphor is used in a lot of dystopian future movies like In Time and Snowpiercer and District 9. And are modern right-wing fascist militias defending the dominant economic system? And particularly the militias guarding the US borders certainly provide us with some real-world parallels to this film.
So the next scene is with the Duke Red and this creepy mashed potato looking man that's supposed to be a scientist. They're in this H.R. Giger-ish room.
She looks perfect. Are you sure she's not finished yet?
Well, the final settings for her fuel management system are unstable, so...
They say your specialty is mixing real organs with synthetic.
No, that's absolutely illegal. I never use human body parts. They don't last very long anyway, you know. Quick fix at best. She's 100% synthetic, much better. Every component made by hand. She's a masterpiece, the culmination of my life's work.
And when will you be done with her?
By the end of the week. If I try to activate her any sooner than that, the fuel cells might overload, and that could spell disaster. She could literally blow up. Boom! Just like that.
My little Tima.
So, Mashed Potato Man, who's named Dr. Landon, by the way, Christopher, he chews his thumb, and then Rock storms in and kills him and burns the whole place down. Rock says, "Give me the strength to protect my father from the evil of the machines."
Oh gods, give me courage. Give me the strength to protect my father from the evil of the machines.
And he might as well be saying, "Give me the strength to protect my culture and my race from the evil ones." This is a concept in fascism, where the fascist group has to be totally superior and yet also on the defensive to justify their violence. The Jews are inferior and yet they're also taking over everything and must be stopped. Or the social justice warriors and feminists are totally inferior, but they're also taking over everything and must be stopped. Or as it is in this movie, the robots are inferior and yet they're taking over everything and must be stopped. It is fascism trying to justify its violence to outside groups that they claim are weak and inferior, but are at the same time the strong ones which are taking over, thus violence against them is justified. And the detective goes to check it out, and apparently he thinks it's a good idea to take his nephew into the building with him and investigate. Like, someone give this guy Uncle of the Year award. And well, of course, once in the building they get separated. And the nephew discovers the mysterious girl that Dr. Landon was working on, and the detective finds a notebook that will be important later on.
What? Lawton's lab burned down?
Apparently, he was doing some unauthorized experiments. It wasn't an ordinary fire. It ripped through the whole district.
What about him?
They found his corpse. Only the charred skeletal remains. There were several international arrest warrants out for him, so whatever he was doing there, it was a danger to the state. Now that danger has been eliminated. What's wrong, Father? Did you have some dealings with Lawton? He was not to be trusted.
Just shut up and get out! I need to be alone.
Damn. He totally fucked him over, didn't he? Okay, so we get this really weird scene with this robot. Then we get this psychedelic shit that happens to this girl's hair. Then we get Rock looking for something. Then we get Uncle saying some dumb bullshit.
No matter what, a criminal always returns to the scene of the crime. Okay, it's an old saying, but I like old sayings, eh?
If you're rested, we should continue our search for your nephew now.
And then we get the scene where they eat rotten food.
That's really nice. It's kind of you to bring us food, but this is rotten. It's not good food to eat. Food to eat. That's right. You do this. That's how you eat it. Oh no, don't eat that. You're only supposed to eat fresh food.
Hey, Christopher.
Yeah?
That scene was kind of pointless, right?
Well, yeah, but this next scene makes up for it. I mean, this explains the purpose of the ziggurat.
Commencing irradiation.
Radiation out solar constant, -80 seconds. Confirmed.
We will reach point R in 5 seconds.
Air perfusion reaction. Commencing countdown.
4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second. Homotenium fusion achieved.
The Fraunhofer lines of the solar spectrum match the homotenium fusion pattern. L-18.
Power level steady. Cooling system steady.
45,000.
Sensor system adjusting to R49 confirmed.
Sunspot field density 800 and
All
rising.
systems at full capacity.
Ionospheric interference. Communication disrupted.
Dude, that is a weapon of mass destruction right there. It's basically like a Death Star, like some kind of symbol of ultimate power. I'd say you could make the argument that it's a symbol for the destructive power of hierarchy and capitalism.
It definitely is, and they plan to use it against the state as a means to invoke fear and terror from the fascists. Clearly, it does not sit well with the city officials.
What recklessness? He's compromised national security. It's completely outrageous.
I agree with you, sir.
Even with the Marduks gunning down the malfunctioning robots.
The rebels will say it's proof robots endanger humans and will call for changes to robot law. They're going to stir up everything.
Even pro-robot groups are worried, and they're already organizing protests in the streets. Fighting is breaking out. And it's only going to get worse.
What do you think?
This is a golden opportunity, Mr. President. We can make a case for treason here and get rid of this problem once and for all.
I don't trust him. Meanwhile, Rock is looking for Tima, the girl robot, so he heads towards the lower levels, and he finds her and the nephew, and Rock just starts shooting at them right away, and we get this stellar line delivery.
What do we do? He's trying to kill us.
No shit, Sherlock.
He just shoots first and asks questions later. After that, we get a really long chase sequence between the nephew and the robot and the Marduks, and the nephew and Tima run into this band of revolutionaries? Wait, there's a revolution in this movie? Okay, now we're talking.
So this character is called Atlas. At first you think he's a well-written character, but you'll learn that he's actually a very shallow and idealistic written character.
I'm Kenichi from Japan. I came with my uncle. He's a private
A private what?
I mean, he's a newspaper reporter. I help him, you know, like an assistant. That's why he brought me.
Why is Rock looking for you?
I don't know. Really. He just started shooting at us. We don't have any idea why.
They're lying. Let's just kill him.
Let's just not kill him. We aren't a street gang. We're building a movement here. You heard him, guys. The kid's an assistant news reporter. He'll help us get some good stories in the press. Let the world know how we're treated in Metropolis. Tell him we're just trying to get a fair deal.
This is no time for genteel newspaper articles with our pictures in fancy uniforms. This is life and death.
Yes, and the uniform that I'm going to die in is the uniform of the revolution that will change this world.
Oh, God. Anyway, so there's this scene where Atlas meets with a government official to make a deal. They plan a riot in an alley, and once the riot is over, the government is going to gladly hand themselves over to the revolutionaries? Wait a minute, that's not how that works. Anyway, okay, the revolution begins, but not before a compelling speech, of course.
Tell me, robot, do you really think you can guard this gate all by yourself?
Demonstrations are strictly forbidden during the week of celebration. Please disperse immediately.
Sorry, but we can't do that. This is our time now.
Why must humanity always resort to violence as the only means of settling their differences?
There's no simple answer to that question. Yes, I agree that we're a violent race controlled by emotions. They're at war within us. And we could do nothing but move forward and search for peace through destruction. If we deny their existence, then we cannot survive. And without emotions, then we are nothing.
I like the imagery of the mass of revolutionaries flooding up the stairwell to break through the economic and physical barriers. Just like in the other films I mentioned with these economic borders, I can't help but get pumped when the revolution starts breaking those borders down.
The uprising has begun.
Do we want to release a formal statement now, or should we wait?
We'll have a clearer idea of the situation by 1 o'clock. So I think 3 or 3:30 should be fine.
Well, what is it, Minister? Are you too excited to relax?
Oh, I am, Mr. President, yes. You see, I have a very unpleasant duty to perform.
Huh? Wait!
Traitor! You've gone to the other side!
Perhaps a traitor to you, Mr. President, but not to history.
No! Wait, please, I can explain.
Wait, did that guy just stage a military coup?
And now we have a commercial break.
Well, wait a minute, I want to know what...
The Christopher Szabo Show is brought to you by anarcho-communists in deep space.
It's your main man Knuckles, and we're Media Herd.
Territory is the territory.
Check it out. Now that you're feeling real tipsy, now let me take you on a trip and roll with me. We can always get the audio level with me because we got to do that anyway. Hey, it's time to get on down to the funky rhythm and the sound. Cause I gotta hit you up, big baby, inside that.
You know what the devil looks like?
I sold my soul to him last night.
Well, I'll tell you what, you took the cheap way out.
Cheap way out's always the best way, baby.
Well, okay, control room, you know what to do with that one. Hello, how are you?
Praise the Lord, I'm doing good.
Great.
How long you been playing guitar?
Oh, well, let's put it this way. I don't claim to be a guitar player, but I've been playing at it for just about 35 to 36 years.
Do you know your guitar's out of tune?
Well, I don't think that's possible. For
It really does sound out of tune.
Well, John, did I tune this to the guitar tuner?
Right before we
just
started.
before we went on the air, so must be.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like there's something wrong.
Well, there
doesn't sound.
Well, maybe it's wrong with me, but it ain't the guitar.
All right. Well, praise Jesus.
Amen.
Mikey Mayo loves Jesus.
Hit your G. Hit your G there. G. Hit your G there. G. Hit your G there.
AKT.
Alright, and we're back. So we have this great-ass line from the detective's nephew.
They call this a revolution?
And after that, Rock shoots the detective, and then Duke Red takes Tima away.
After that, there's an interesting scene where Tima is taken to Rock, who was in disguise, and he does this weird science experiment on her, but then the detective busts in and saves her. This is where that notebook from earlier comes into play, because we learn that Tima is supposed to be a replica of Duke Red's dead daughter, which explains why he was hiring someone to use human body parts in the first place.
So the detective returns the girl to Duke Red, and Duke Red takes Tima to this throne. Oh my fucking god. Tima's destiny is to rule the world. But not as a human, you see, but as a racist class struggle between robots and humans in Metropolis, and the Marduk seeks to destroy the robots. That's the purpose of Rock. It's all very complicated. Yeah, it's all very complicated.
Speaking of which,
it's time to change.
Father, stop deluding yourself.
Rock!
It's you!
What is the meaning of this?
As our leader, you are the only one who should sit on the throne, Father.
So after that, Tima takes the throne, and all hell breaks loose. Tima becomes a fucking god and starts becoming fucking scary and destroying literally everything, and
the Marduks try and suppress her, but it's of no use.
And then here comes the best part of the entire movie, Radical Reviewer.
Oh?
Stop it! I won't let pieces of junk, like all of you, take the life of my father.
Rock!
I've made up my mind to live in there for some time.
Okay, so the capitalist has moved beyond the power of the fascists and onto a more supreme power. And so the fascists are lashing out against it and trying to maintain their superiority, trying to retain relevance. But of course, at the end of the day, the capitalist is happy to throw away the loyal fascists just like they're happy to throw away everyone else.
And so comes the fall of a great empire. The boy tries to save her, but it's no use. The destruction is so beautiful. The music score is so great.
I made up my mind to live in memory.
So what did we learn from Metropolis? I think there's a lot of underlying themes to look at. I feel like Metropolis is a metaphor for capitalism fueling fascism. If we let capitalism get too powerful, fascist groups will tend to form and will eventually crumble upon itself. What do you think, Radical Reviewer?
Well, Tima is definitely a representation of ultimate power. And this whole caste system with people locked out of various sections of the economy and fascists being the lapdogs and guard dogs, God, I hate those terms, of the capitalist, this stuff is really incredibly relevant for what's going on in the world today. But what really stuck with me was Tima's destruction of the city. Like, it seemed really crazy and almost out of nowhere at first, but then, when I started to think about it, it all makes sense. If Tima represents power, and the fascist wants power for the capitalist, and the capitalist wants power above humanity, then they all think that they will have some sort of perfect order through hierarchical control and ultimate power. But this power instantly collapses. And in the very end, all the robots are saying Tima's name, which is like, maybe if she's the power, it's like the power's in all of them. The hierarchical centralized power was doomed to collapse, and yet the power within all the workers lives on.
If you like this episode, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon for all the perks. And also, if you like Radical Reviewer, be sure to check out his channel as well, because he also reviews leftist literature.